All right, welcome back to the Who is Will Sims podcast. And we have a special episode today. I kind of filmed this on the fly, wasn't really planning on it, but the Game Awards was the other night, and I'm probably a little behind on the news, but I would try to, since I'm uploading my first episodes on Sunday, I'm going to be a few days behind on this, but I like being a part of the zeitgeist, though, most news feels like bad news to discuss, unless you want to stir up a bunch of trouble. But, I feel like I'm a gamer. I've always liked video games. It's not like a huge part of my life, but I like to do it when I can. And the Game Awards was a cool thing. I got to check it out. I haven't seen many of the ones in the past years, so this is kind of a newer experience watching this live. But it was a good time. I really appreciated seeing what was coming up. There were a few games I'm really excited about. Not as worried about. I wasn't as concerned about who was winning what. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that are like, this game should have won Game of the Year. That game should have won Game of the Year. I mean, I haven't played all the games, so I wouldn't know. It's easy to look at it from one side when you've only played a couple of the games, but Baldur's Gate looked really good. I don't know much else about it other than it looked good. I did play Resident Evil 4. I have Tears of the Kingdom sitting here, but I haven't touched it yet. I've been I'm hoping to get to it this winter, but it's one of those games, when you dive into it, you got to dive into it. So, congrats to Baldur's Gate and all the other games that won awards. I did notice how quickly it felt like a lot of speeches got shut down by the music playing them off. It felt like they would get the award, but all right, yeah, I want to thank my mom and my dad, and then the music would start like come on, give them a little bit more time. It is an award show, not a trailer show, but it's one of them things. I think let them try to refine it. Hopefully next time they'll figure out a way to balance it a little bit better. That's the real trick is balancing it. Before I talk about the Game Awards, I definitely want to talk about the GTA trailer because I know a lot of people are excited about that. I've never played any Grand Theft Auto games, but I've seen tons of videos. They look great. They look like a lot of fun. Hoping that maybe if the hype is real, I'll get to play that, and maybe I'll go back and play the other ones. I do have a Twitch channel, but I don't get on there too often. Maybe if this takes off, I'll try to stream a little bit more when I'm playing. I mean, I play video games on a pretty regular basis, but I don't always stream it. So if people want to get on there and interact, that'll be cool. Also, I want to talk about the intro music for a second because I'm sure if anything, anyone's like, what's going on with this music that's leading in? I've been just trying to throw together some beats in Ableton for each one. It's more of an exercise in creativity than anything else. I mean, I'm used to playing with real instruments and writing on those, but sometimes you come up with a cool effect type of background thing, and I can build a whole song off of that. So I've been making those for each episode. Gonna try to keep that as a thing just because I like doing it and it's fun. Sorry, getting the text messages. But yeah, chilling at home tonight, sipping on a margarita. I'm not an alcoholic by any stretch, but I do like to unwind with a nightcap here and there. But yeah, let's talk about these games. So there was a couple things that were big surprises. I was actually just talking about Budokai Tenkaichi 4 with someone at work the other day. I was telling him how my brother and I used to play that game like crazy. And we would play it on Budokai Tenkaichi 2 on Wii. And we were so intense, man. We would be doing all the moves with the controllers, and we'd be sweating. We'd be doing the 5-on-5 matches, and it would be intense. But yeah, we would really go hard in that game. So the idea that they're making another one is so exciting to me. And yeah, when they showed that trailer, I was blown away. Sorry, responding to a text message, not a real podcast moment here. It's just typical. As soon as I sit down to do something, the whole universe needs me for random questions. So yeah, Budokai Tenkaichi 4 was definitely one of the things I was just super excited about. The other reveal that was mind-blowing was the Blade game. Hopeful that that's just a lot of fun, you know. They don't really have to do much, there's a lot of good games like that out there right now. Maybe like a Ghost of Tsushima style gameplay added with some guns and some other cool weapons that he uses, and you're fighting vampires, man. Like, there's not really a lot of games out there that have done that well. So, you've got plenty of inspiration to draw from to make that work. The other game that looked really, that like for me, like as I'm a franchise guy. I won't lie. I like every now and then I'll get to play an indie game that I really like, but for the most part, like I like, I want to see franchises that I grew up on that are like now being, milked. I'd like to see them have success in some sort of form. So, the Jurassic Park game looks really interesting, and like it kind of looks like Alien Isolation, but with dinosaurs. So hopefully that's a good time. So that in terms of stuff that I know about seeing games come out, those were the main ones. And then it's always cool seeing games that weren't on your radar at all, and they come out and show you something, and it's really exciting. I thought the Den of Wolves game looked really cool. Obviously they didn't show a whole lot about it. Last Sentinel was another one that looked really good. The Black Myth Wukong game looked really good. That one they showed some gameplay of. It kind of reminded me of Sekiro a little bit with how it's like kind of got like some mythological aspects to it, a lot of animal like type creatures and stuff that are, built around that, and a lot of sword play. The OD game looked awesome. The new Hideo Kojima thing, the fact that it's kind of this collaborative thing with him and a bunch of other people looks really neat. I love Jordan Peele. I actually just watched Nope recently. I'll probably talk about that on one of the other ones. I finally got around to watching that, and I just think that he's someone with vision. He's someone with creativity, and hopefully he can bring something to this project that makes it really fun and interesting. The standout surprise for me was a game called Tales of Kenzara, Zao, and that one kind of hit me because the presenter came out. I can't remember his name, but he was dressed in like African American kind of garb. I don't know if that's technically what it was. Hopefully, I don't get that wrong and people are mad at me. But he had this really nice, cool outfit on. It looked kind of like of African American kind of designs on it. And the game looks like it's kind of based in Africa, so that's why I kind of assume that's part of it. But he told this really amazing story about his father and how his father was always very supportive of video games and saw it as an art form. And and he said his father passed away, and this game was kind of a tribute to him, and that just really touched me because I recently lost my father, And my dad wasn't a gamer. I've been kind of tributing him more in the music sense, and I'll be doing a lot of stuff for that in the near future. But it was one of those things where I wasn't expecting it, and you could tell that this was like a big moment for him, and they were taking a big risk with putting this game out there and hoping that people will support it. And it looks great to me. Side scrolling, kind of looks like a Metroidvania. I don't know if that's the style of the gameplay, but hopefully it is, because I love those kinds of games. And I definitely look forward to supporting that game when it comes out, and hoping that it does well. And yeah, man, in terms of just not really expecting much. I mean, there were a couple things I was hoping for. I was hoping that we would see an announcement for the Elden Ring DLC. I've been playing Elden Ring. I've been doing my second playthrough of Elden Ring, which has been kind of sparse because, the first run through was about 100 hours for me, and I'm about 50 hours into my second playthrough. But it's just one of those games, man. Like, there's so many routes you can take and so many different ways you can play it. You just want to soak it up and enjoy as much of it as you can. And so I'm really excited for this DLC. I was hoping for some kind of Resident Evil news. I definitely appreciate that they've been more. Some companies do well with not over announcing things. They could be like, well, Resident Evil 4 killed it. Well, we're going to release 3 games next year and look at all these games, and then once one kind of tanks, and then another one tanks, and then even if the third one's good, no one wants to buy it because the other 2 tanked. It's like, I appreciate that they're trying to really actually do them well and make them good and fun and make you want to play them for hours and hours. So I try not to be that guy that's like, oh, I want this announcement, I want that announcement. I mean, the other thing too is Metroid Prime 4. I'm so hopeful for that game. My favorite game of all time is Metroid Prime, and Metroid Prime 2 Echoes is like right there next to it, and then Super Metroid is right in that same realm, but the exploration of those 2 games and the way you kind of learn about the world and what's happening in it by studying the environment and learning about the culture of the race that's the creature that's on the planet, and learning what happened there before you arrived. Like, all these things, like the way that the wonder that you feel when you're in that world is just so cool. And Samus is obviously a badass. I'd love to see a Metroid movie, but I'm afraid that they wouldn't quite understand what makes the Metroid game special, like the isolation and the mystery and the the combination of overwhelming odds mixed with the the ultimate badassery of Samus and her abilities and how she uses them to overcome her adversaries is just one of those things. Like, it could be done terribly wrong. There's like this small part of me that would love to be a director one day and make some of these movies, but I don't know what even the director job entails, but I can just envision in my head, like, man, this would be so amazing. And Samus could be this amazing role model for just kids in general. I mean, when I was a kid, I was like, Samus is a badass, and I always kind of knew that she was a female because I think in most of the Smash game, I mostly encountered her during the Smash games, and I don't think it was any secret. But as I went back and played some of these other Nintendo games, she definitely stood out as this amazing character that could really be a role model for a lot of people. I think more people could stand to just listen and maybe less, cut the chatter a little bit. But yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about today. Just keep this simple. Um, you know, the I'm excited to see what kind of games we got coming. There's obviously it's a big market now. There's you know we're kind of getting onto the other side of this. You know, brain fart. The other side of this live service kind of realm where I feel like we're starting to getting less games that have it as like the main focus and more games that are just having it as like a supplementary thing because I don't hate live service as a method of supporting a game, but you got to do it right. You got to know that you're going to be putting out a product that people are going to play for years to come. Like, I think Fortnite's done well with it. They've managed to keep fresh content coming and make it interesting and fun and give you reasons to come back. But, a lot of games are just built on that. Well, we're going to just give you this basic thing and then you need to pay us more to make it better. It kind of feels like that's what a lot of these companies are hoping for, these, whatever the top portion of the company is. You get a lot of developers. I think the developers, generally want to make great games. They want to make games that are emotional and connect with audiences and tell great stories and are fun to play. But, you've got these executives that are like, well, this game made a bunch of money, so make this more like that game, and they have no idea why that thing was successful. They just want you to put things in there that make it more like that game, whether it would be successful or not, and one of the games I played a lot was the Avengers game, and I really liked the Avengers game. At its core, I felt like the team that was making it cared about the story and the world they were building, but you could tell that they were kind of being forced into this corner of, well, you want people to be able to play it, and you want them to buy skins and buy this and buy that, and then they didn't support the game after it released, and so that a lot of people felt shorthanded by what was being offered, because the Avengers the Marvel universe is a big universe, and you put out a game with 6 heroes and 3 villains, it's like you kind of feel shortchanged as opposed to like, you look at like the Marvel Ultimate Alliance games, those were like, you had this big roster of heroes and then tons of villains to fight, even though they were kind of like, cookie cutter type boss enemies. You still got to see like all these characters pop up, and it was kind of the surprise. And I felt like they should have tried to utilize that a little more and make it more like, you're not, you're just fighting a bunch of these generic enemies, and then you come across some boss and it's just 4 dudes pounding this boss, until it's dead. There was a couple battles that were cool. Like I felt like there were a couple like the big mech battles that were neat. I wish there was like an element of it that felt like everyone had to really chip in order to defeat the boss, as opposed to like it's kind of just up. One person could take out the boss on their own while the other 3 are off lollygagging around. But I digress. That was a game that. By the time it was shut down, it was like it was a game that should have been at launch, but it's just a shame. It wasn't like Battlefront 2 where it felt like by the time that game shut down, it was way better than it was at launch, and even because Battlefront 2 was one that I felt like they started off with something solid. They had a solid base game to start with. I know that a lot of people rag on the story, but it had it in there. And then they really built off of that and added in a lot of things that people wanted and a lot of maps and stuff. But then you could kind of tell like it was, the game wasn't getting the support it needed. They could have been pumping out a lot more fun stuff. to keep the community engaged, but you could kind of tell that the developers were straining to kind of make the stuff that people really wanted, and then struggling to put out like little things that could have helped support the game, like interesting skins and other stuff like that. That was one of those games I felt like they could have done so many cool things, like for example, they had kind of the galactic it was like the Galactic Assault, I think, was the game mode. It was like it was a very cinematic game mode. As you would progress through the map, things would blow up, parts of the map would change, stuff like that. And I believe for the most part, at least at launch, they may have changed it later down the line, I can't remember, but you could only play as heroes that were from that era. So you had the prequel era, the original trilogy era, and the sequel era. And I felt like they could have really easily like made it like more interesting, like maybe have like a skin of Luke Skywalker's like, character model or whatever, but make him just kind of like a generic Jedi, or make him like another Jedi that people know, and he's just got Luke Skywalker's abilities, and that could have been a fun, interesting way just to kind of, you create more more diversity in the game. You're just reusing the assets you have, and some people complain about that, but at least it would have opened that door. And then you have like a lot more characters at your disposal, and you don't have to like put all this effort into it. You could have had like instead of Darth Vader, you could have had like a version of I don't know who you could replace Darth Vader as. Maybe not every character needed to be like a double of the other, but you could have had like a version in the sequel trilogy that was like maybe a version of one of the Praetorian guards or something. And instead of a lightsaber, he's got like one of those staffs or something. And there were just ways you can reuse the assets, so you don't have to spend a bunch of time building new models or not models, animations and stuff like that, just to kind of have an equal amount of stuff across the whole game, because it kind of felt like the original trilogy had a lot of stuff in it, and then the prequel and the sequel trilogy was very kind of barren until the very end. But thanks for listening to that rant on video games, and I will have some new episodes up this week. I'll probably drop this as a bonus episode in the middle of the week, just to hopefully kind of catch on the hype from the Game Awards. And I'll see you all next week, and be safe out there. It's that holiday season. Drive carefully. Don't go through the light if it's yellow. By me, I have a mall, and that's what a lot of people do. It's like the light turns yellow, and the other side of the intersection's already backed up. And then you get like a bunch of people backing up the intersection and blocking other people from going because someone couldn't just, wait for the next light. It just, causes a whole bunch of commotions, and a bunch of people want to, hit each other with folding tables and stuff. So, just be safe out there. Look out for each other. Online shopping's a thing. You don't have to go out there. Learn how to do it. It's not that hard. You can always learn a new skill. So yeah, that's all for today. Take it easy out there.